Hey everyone, it's Timo, and this is a video diary catch-up for quite a few days actually. As I mentioned in a previous diary, my best friend Alex's mom passed away Thursday, which would have been like February 6th or something like that, I think. I headed up to Central Washington for, you know, to be there for Alex and be there for the funeral and all of that lovely stuff. And then I headed back Sunday. So this is basically a diary for those days when I was driving to and from Washington. Oh my God, seriously, traffic. I'm just going. So Thursday was a day, you know, I was gonna leave straight from work. It was kind of a weird day at work because I had a bunch of stuff to try to get done before I left, and I took Friday off, so I knew I was gonna be out of the office. So that always kind of compresses things a little bit and makes it a little bit more busy. But then Portland was, there was a winter storm coming that actually, for once, seemed like totally legit. I could tell that it was real. I mean, like, we were really gonna get hit with snow. They were saying, you know, 6 to 10 inches of snow in Portland, blah, 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 blah. And I've been hoping for this for years. I love the snow, and I like to have it come and hang out for a couple of days or a week or something like that and then go away. Yeah, so I knew that I was driving to Eastern Washington, and there's an area around here called the Columbia Gorge, which can get very, very treacherous during many weather events, let alone sort of a serious winter storm. So I was kind of monitoring all morning the progress, and I wound up leaving work at noon. Basically, I talked to a coworker who, my work husband, who used to go to school in Eastern Washington but lived in Vancouver, Washington. So he was always driving to and fro. So he said, you know, we kind of decided that the smartest thing to do would probably be to just kind of watch the weather cams, but once it started snowing for real in downtown Portland, to go ahead and take off. Well, that ended up happening at noon. I was planning on leaving at like 5 or 4 or even 3 at one point. I thought, well, you know, I'll get out, if I can get through the gorge before it hits tonight, then that should be okay. Well, it ended up hitting earlier, and so I went ahead and left at noon. So I drove up to Central Washington, you know, up along I-84 and all that stuff, and it was very interesting. For me, I don't think I've ever driven that stretch during bad weather. And it actually didn't end up being that difficult. It was so cold. It was like 17 degrees so Fahrenheit. So the snow was like dry, and more than that, once you got onto the freeway, it wasn't even on the road. It was like blowing around like dust. And so there was no problems with traction, you know, unless you were going above like 50, 55 even. So, or at least for me. So I just went like, you know, 45, 50 the whole way. And the biggest issue I had to deal with was wind. It can be really windy in that area. And so wind was the biggest thing I had to worry about, but it was fine. And then I went up over Status Pass, which there was definitely snow and packed snow and stuff there. But again, you know, I know how to drive in the snow, and I know how to drive all the stuff. I know you can't do what you normally do. And I just went, you know, basically I go 5 miles an hour under where I start to break loose and fishtail a little bit, and set the cruise control to that, and just drove the whole way. It was fine the whole way. It got down to 6 degrees Fahrenheit up in the pass. I think that might be, other than a Christmas trip to Wisconsin, that might be the coldest weather I've ever been in, the coldest temperature I've ever been in. But yeah, it was kind of crazy. So I made it early. I mean, I got to the Tri-Cities area at like 5 o'clock. It took me 5 hours basically, including a pit stop in the Dalles for lunch, which I thought was pretty good actually, considering the weather. So yeah, so then Thursday night I hung out with Alex, and we did, you know, we just kind of hung out, went and picked up his husband Chad from the airport in Tri-Cities like 10 o'clock that night. And yeah, then Friday was the service, so that was kind of a rough day. And then after the service, it was a bunch of family time. We hung out with the family, and you know, despite the circumstances, it was kind of cool to meet some of Alex's extended family. Certainly kind of good to see some people like his sister and brother-in-law, and oh my gosh, his nephews have grown up so much since the last time I saw them. And just people that I had already met, some of his aunts I'd already met and stuff like that. So it was kind of nice to see them again. Yeah, so Friday was definitely a rough day. It was rough for Alex for sure. Really nice people, really nice sort of lunch, potluck after the service. The food was really good. The desserts were really good. But yeah, then we just kind of, like I said, we hung out at Alex's grandfather's house for a while with family. But yeah, it kept snowing off and on the whole time I was there. I think at the peak there was probably 12 to 14 inches of snow in the Tri-Cities area, so it was pretty cool. And it was, it was really easy to drive on because, like I said, it was so cold that it was basically dry. So, Alex teased me a little bit the first time I drove because I was being uber cautious. But, once I got the hang of it, again, it's sort of like riding a bike. Once you learn to drive in the snow, you kind of always know. Plus, I was really happy with how my Golf handled in the snow. It handled very well. It was easy to drive, had no problems at all, never got stuck. So Saturday was fun. We went wine tasting. There's actually a lot of really good wineries in Yakima Valley and Columbia Valley, because the Columbia River and the Yakima River kind of both meet in Tri-Cities. And so we went to this place. When my sister used to live up in the Tri-Cities area, there was a winery that they loved that they introduced kind of my whole family to called Bookwalter. And they made this amazing Chenin Blanc that we all loved. And it was really, I think it was one of the first wines that I really was like, oh, I like this wine and stuff. I wasn't nearly as into wine as I am now. And so I was like, well, geez, I haven't been back to this area in literally 12 years. When am I going to get another chance? Even if, I sort of leave Alex to, give him some space, some peace and quiet and go there myself, I'd like to sort of swing by Bookwalter and see what's up. Well, he and Chad were totally down for wine tasting, and so we started at Bookwalter and discovered that not only do they no longer make the Chenin Blanc, but they no longer make a Gewürztraminer either, which is one of my other favorite kinds of wines. So I was disappointed, but we did a tasting anyway. We tasted all whites, and they had a Riesling that was really good. And I got an awesome deal on a case of this stuff. So I bought a case, but it's not as crazy as it seems. I'm gonna split it with my sister and parents. So I'm gonna have like 6 bottles of this Riesling, which is fine. It's good. It's really, it's interesting because it's dry, but it's not dry from oak barrels or anything like that. It's just dry from not being too sweet. And it was all stainless steel, so my sister can have it because she can't have stuff that's aged in oak, I think because of tannins. But yeah, so we did that. We went wine tasting, then we had lunch, and then we hit a couple other places in Prosser. I think 2 or 3 places. They were really awesome. Very good wine, and the tastings were like $5 for like 6, 7, 8 wines, and like the Portland area ones, they gave us a couple of wines that weren't on the tasting menu, which was nice. So that was fun. That was most of our Saturday. By the time we got back, it was dinner time. We had dinner with the family and kind of did whatever. So then Sunday I headed home, and I was really kind of worried about the weather in Portland because Saturday night supposedly there was freezing rain and all the snow and stuff, everything that was still left. So I wasn't really sure. So I just watched everything closely. I think I left Central Washington around noon. And just decided, I'm just gonna go and see what happens. And it actually was pretty good. Like, I drove back down through Sadis Pass, and I would say probably the first 2 highways that I was on in Central Washington before I kind of got to the main highway that goes over the pass were definitely snowy, and they were definitely slippery as well because it was much warmer. So it was right up around, I think it was like 30, 31 degrees. So it started to melt a little bit, of course, and got slick. But still, it was no big deal. It was just, slow going, 20, 25 miles, 30 miles an hour. And then once I got to the highway that went up over the pass, it was just wet. It was just open and wet. Especially like there'd be like 1 lane, but sometimes there was 2 lanes, and the second lane might be kind of still half covered in snow, but there was always one lane, 1 clear path that was clear. So it was no big deal. And then I got back down all the way down into the Columbia River area, and Biggs Junction was fine all the way back through. The only problem I really hit the whole way home was just after the Dalles was where all of the semi trucks were taking their chains off, and so it was like mostly just like congestion. Like, it was super crazy. They just stop in the right lane of the freeway and take their chains off. And so we were all going slow over the packed snow in the left lane, but mostly it was pretty easy, even all the way into downtown Portland. But I kept worrying that when I go, oh, it's going to be bad when I get to Cascade Locks. It's going to be bad when I finally get into Portland. And all the way home to Beaverton, it was totally fine. The only problem that I hit was in the parking lot of my apartment complex, and that was just, you know, deep slush and snow, pretty slippery, but it was literally, what, 150 feet worth of driving, so it was totally fine. So once I got home, I just kind of unpacked and did some laundry and had dinner and got ready for the week of work, because of course I have to work this morning. So that's right, headed out to work today. Gonna do my normal thing, probably hopefully get back on a regular schedule of diaries when something interesting happens. So that was your February 6th through the 9th, 2014. Thanks for watching. Sorry it's long. Bye.